Narcissists like to come across as these fearless beings. And that's what their facade of ultra confidence is meant to achieve. It's to prove to people how confident they are, how things are always working out for them, and how they fear nothing. Nothing can rattle them up. But obviously, none of that's true. And what's one of the biggest fears for the narcissist? Well, narcissists devote a lot of energy, effort, well calculated application of themselves and actions to try to control people and to try to control those special supplies they have in their life. In particular, their primary supply. Being able to control that person, and that control often links into being able to apply the right mix of intimidation and enticement, the stick and carrot, in just the right way to keep the person perfectly in order and perfectly in line. They're basically living under your skin. And if they manage to live under your skin successfully, they can use you to help regulate their emotions. Because that's what narcissists need. People always talk about, yeah, they need narcissistic supply. But what is that really about? Well, to a very large extent, what that's about is they need somebody to help regulate their emotions. They need an object of projection when they need to project, and they need somebody to stroke their ego when they're in need of that praise, etc. So what do they fear? When the narcissist feels that they're losing their ability to get under your skin and intimidate you, control you. And if you were someone that was previously considered very good supply, that's one of the worst things that can happen to them. Because you are the one who regulates them. You are the one who keeps them stable. And if they lose control of their ability to influence you in the way they need, then they lose control of themselves and their own emotions. They basically turn into a big mess. So when narcissists see signs that they might be losing control over you, they start scrambling in an effort to just find a way to exert an influence and leverage over you once again. Because they need to control you to feel in control of themselves. So what can you expect when the narcissist is basically losing it? They feel they're losing you. Well, one thing they often do is they'll find something to play the victim about. They love extracting pity from other people. It might warm you up to them again. Make you more accepting to them in their toxic ways. Kind of opens up your tolerance again if you were putting down some boundaries. Or if that doesn't work, they might frame certain situations. If you were like avoiding them, they couldn't really talk to you the way they wanted to. They might frame situations that require you to talk to them, that require you to interact with them. And then as part of those interactions, they start testing you in every way they know how to see where they can find a leverage point, where you have a weakness, where they can work their way in. This analogy that narcissists are like octopus. They're like an octopus with 1,000 tentacles. That's very true, and it's a very valid analogy because narcissists are always kind of feeling you. They're feeling you out with their imaginary tentacles, trying to work out where you have a leverage point that they can use to regain control. But sometimes narcissists don't succeed. Sometimes you're just, and this is one of the best things for you in terms of protecting yourself, is you just become emotionally shut off. And let's say you apply gray rock, you're not really feeding them with anything. Doesn't matter what they do, how much they try to get a reaction out of you, how much they try to get you to conform. If you just become emotionally numb, a boring gray rock, you're probably going to force them to have to look for supply elsewhere. And that's the situation they hate being in. Because they're in a situation where you're not providing the supply they need, and no one else is either at the moment, so they have to go look for supply, and that's hard work. So that whole scenario of being, of losing their primary supply figure, such that they're unable to regulate themselves and being forced to hunt for supply elsewhere, in this almost panic situation, this panic mode, that's what they try to avoid. Because they're desperate, and narcissists hate accepting that they're desperate. And they hate even worse when people catch glimpses of the fact that they are desperate. So it's a very painful place that they're in. So yeah, they try so hard to avoid being in that place. They fear it like there's no tomorrow. And that's why narcissists try to read people so well. They're good at reading people. And that's why they try to keep tabs on their supply so well. So if the supply shows any sign that they might be losing interest in the narcissist or becoming less controllable, the narcissist likes to know this stuff like way in advance. So it gives them plenty of time to work up a backup plan. But the problem is when they don't have time to put together a backup plan and they have to scramble, that's what they fear. Because they don't have the resources to stay stable. But then they have to pretend like they're this stable, desirable person to potential new supply. That's a really hard act to pull off when they are in emotional wreck. But sometimes they're forced to having to do that.